Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Mike.
Dylan, guess what?
What?
It's my birthday.
Yes, it is.
And I would want the Sunburn Gaming Engine for my birthday.
But you already have it.
I already have it. Of course I already have it. Why wouldn't I have it? As an XNA developer, you should already have the Sunburn Gaming Engine. You should have it. It should be a tool in your toolbox. You can use it for 2D, but especially if you're going for 3D. If you're going for 3D graphics as an indie developer, you are up against a wall of perception by the gamer. You are locked into Call of Duty and Gears of War comparisons constantly. If you didn't if you launch a 3D game as an indie game developer, I don't know. I just got way off there. Like I don't know where I went, and I came back though. So we're okay.
So yeah,
we're all here. Let's roll. Let's just roll with it. But yeah, so gamers play the games and they look at it and they're like, if your 3D lighting is off, they're gonna trash you for it. If you release a game that looks as good as Doom, it's gonna be unplayable. If you go 3D as an indie developer, your aesthetics have to be up to par, and you can spend years building a 3D engine that has the capabilities of the Sunburn Gaming Engine just on the 3D rendering for performance and lighting features. I'm not even talking about the in-game editors that the Sunburn Gaming Engine provides, or the game control input, or the AI physics hooks that are in there. I'm going to scratch that on AI. I don't think they did any AI. Don't quote me on that one. The physics
so many
engines.
bullet points, we don't even remember them all.
Exactly. So, if you're doing anything 3D, you definitely need to check this out if you're doing XNA. Again, it hits the Xbox, it hits the PC, it hits the phone. There's a Sunburn Gaming Engine for all of the platforms that you can run XNA on. They work on everything. They have an immense community. They have great forums, great support in the forums. You ask a question, you're going to get answers. You're probably going to get answers from the Sunburn team. They are active in their own forums as well. You can also, again, I just went there again. I don't know what it is. You know what? It's my birthday. I'm going to call it a mulligan on this, and just go to synapsegaming.com to find out more of this information. Oh, I know where I was going. The education catalog. They have an extreme wealth of example projects and education catalog for you to download and check out and play with and find. This is what I'm trying to do. Great, here's an example showing me how to do it that I can play with and incorporate in your game. If you want the assets they put down in those kits, you can use them in the game. In fact, that dojo that seems to crop up every now and then in indie games, that's a free Sunburn Gaming Engine setting. So you can do that. You can have the dojo. Go check out the dojo and the engine at synapsegaming.com. Alright everyone, welcome to the show. Yeah, as you can tell from the ad, a little rough getting going here. And it's probably gonna be a little rough. Hectic week for us at Funkworks. We have lined up a graphic artist, a pixel artist, Drew, and we may get him on a show or two. If we can, to hang out and talk Captain Dubstep. But we're doubling down on the Captain Dubstep thing. That is happening, and a lot of this week went to meeting, talking, discussing with the people in the area. I had hesitations about asking if anybody was interested in doing what might amount to unpaid work, but at some point, don't presume. And go out there and ask. And we have a lot of graphic designers in the Knoxville area, thanks to the guys at Chaossoft. One of them teaches a game design course at ITT Tech, which unfortunately I just found out is been canceled, so you can't enlist in that anymore. No more enrolling in that, but we've got a number of game design grads in the area, so it makes sense to try to foster some of that. And part onto that too is putting together some meetup space and see if we can't get something happening locally. So that soaked up most of the week, on top of work, on top of code stock planning, on top of that. And it's my birthday, and I just said, the hell with it. I'm not really going to plan a hard topic. I did make some notes here for Rants, because I did kind of promise that I'll go ahead and say some things that... Well, some of these things, not all of these things. Some of these things I probably would not say with a microphone. And I probably wouldn't say on the podcast and broadcast it, because, you know, you don't say those things. But I have said these things off mic, you know, in other conversations.
You might as well just...
So why not have some beer and make some dumb decisions? It's your birthday, right? Playing anything lately this week? I haven't gotten to play much of anything.
Not really. Most of my computer and gaming time has been focused on WordPress stuff, because we've been setting up some sites for...
We do have the xnalastdance.com. It's still on my to-do list to start putting out some press releases, some news announcements on GameMarx, and start sharing the link around to try to get that out. So that's still going on, but that is xnalastdance.com. If you've got a Dream Build Play, and we have quite a number of developers on there right now, and it's pretty cool to see some of what's in progress for the Dream Build Play. It almost makes me think, if you're going to do a contest, you should do this. Just seeing what's going on as a developer. Okay, I don't know how interesting this might be to gamers in general, but as a developer, it's interesting to kind of read everybody's posts as they update. For some reason, and I swear this is the truth, that site does not like Jim's RSS feed. MockX Games, I go back in there and I'll be like, I've had a problem with this feed for a day. And I'm like, I don't know why it doesn't like Jim's, feed. And I reset it, and it finds it fine for a day, and then it kicks it out. But I think there's just some bugs in the importer, and there's bugs all over WordPress. It's not that clean. Or definitely the plugin space. Maybe not WordPress itself, but the plugin space is hit or miss what the quality you're getting at.
The RSS feed thing, it might be something like, because I know I've had that happen in FeedBurner, where FeedBurner could not access your feed, and I'm like, or if you go into the beta interface, it lists the log of errors or something. It's it's been up,
Yeah, and I'll go in there and it will say I go to this link, mockxgames.com or Machinima Games, or I'm failing Jim at your site name at the moment. It's mockxgames.com, I think. And it's /RSS XML or something, just simple.
Yeah. And
it says, this page doesn't exist. So I click the link. It exists. It's right there. Update. I can't find this link. It exists. Update. I can't find this link. Alright. Reset the feed. Let me paste in the link. I copy, paste the link back in. Hey, I found the feed. What the fuck?
Of course you did.
So I'm not... We've used this before, and this feed had problems with some of the... when we did the temporary Xbox Indie site, we used this plugin, and yeah, it had issues where it quit importing, our blip feed when we were doing that and bringing our stuff in that way. So one of these days, I keep telling myself I'll just rewrite all this shit. I'm just gonna drop everything and sell WordPress plugins that fucking work. Oh hey, Chad Carter just popped in the chat, and since we're kind of freewheeling here, it's the first item I queued up. Chad Carter, coolness, known to us, his XNA book that we have talked about, that pretty popular, XNA Game Studio 3.0 Unleashed. The source code is released as open source, and he's saying hey, jump in there. And now that Codeplex has Git, you can use Git to fork and update all these code examples for 4.0, which is kind of telling me that there's no Game Studio 4.0 book coming out. You want it, write it your damn self, because you know what, XNA's dead, and it's just negrophilia at this point. Another member of the XNA team we found out today, Nick Gravelin? I
don't know.
He went to a Kinect sensor team?
I think so. I just saw that on Twitter.
Yeah, we just saw it on Twitter a little bit before the show, but switch teams. sounds a little bit better than when Sean Hargraves landed with the phone team. That's like, I just would have quit, you know? But, you know, it's just not giving you something to hang your hat on and say like, oh, this isn't dead. They're just getting ready to re-release it with the next Xbox, and it's low on the priority, but it's still going forward, and there's still some support, but they can't talk about it right now, and it's all that. It's like, no, dude, people are leaving on the team. There's nobody left there to write the damn code. So, unless I start hearing about people moving into the XNA team, I don't give it a lot of hope, behind it, and I still hear nothing on a managed DirectX interface for WinRT. I think they are seriously hurting themselves. I can't remember where I was at that XNA was getting mentioned for projects, and there was a lot of game studios, professional. I don't remember what the hell I was reading or something. Mentioned they were using XNA for these things. Now maybe they weren't the game, but they were using it for their tooling or other systems. So I was like, oh wow, this thing has a lot more adoption in the main game industry outside of games actually shipped in XNA.
Yeah, that doesn't seem that strange to me, but it does seem like there will...
Well, they're pretty Unreal Engine, you know, type C, C++, is the game engines. That's what they use, and, you know, they're reusing their engine from 5 years ago still, and, you know, updating and tweaking. So, also, from C++ to C#, I attended those sessions in 2008, and, at Game Fest, and LucasArts was like, you know, yeah, it's crazy, man. Fucking strings will fuck you in the ass, and this is just weird shit that we don't understand. So I kind of took it of like, yeah, it's a different kind of programming, having a garbage collector, games like C++, and these guys are hardcore, and they're comfortable doing what they do, so, you know, no need to change. But, it's not boding well. In the news, I guess I didn't tag it up, but, Unity is gonna work with, Adobe here, or maybe I did. Yeah, I did get a Gamasutra article for here. Adobe is partnering with Unity so that your Unity games would run in Flash. Now, I
thought they already did.
No, they have a web...
They have a plugin.
They have a web plugin, so you install the Unity plugin, but the thought is people are like, oh my god, I can't install a plugin, which, it kind of sounds bullshit to me. I think people to play a game on the web don't mind adding the plugin, but, you know, if it's just a build target, then go for it. And maybe this will get Adobe or Unity to put in more 2D support, because if you're going after Flash games, the Flash gaming world is 2D for the most part. So unless they're attempting to make and be a 3D API for Flash and not really do the 2D,
because I figure Flash, I've never used it, but I figure Flash has a lot of the 2D stuff covered.
It does, but it makes sense to me. Like if there's a crossover, then that would be that. You know, use Unity for your 2D game engine in Flash. But if it's just for 3D, then it's like, why not just do the plugin? And the plugin will probably have better performance because it won't be running in a Flash wrapper or something. But I don't know. It was announced, so and the reason I bring that up is that Unity and Unreal are just dominating on more and more platforms. They're covering more and more, and it's becoming harder and harder to say no to these frameworks and these platforms over XNA because they're going to get you everywhere. And sure, there's the Xbox, but the marketplace is shit. The Windows Phone 7, nobody fucking has one.
And that's all going to be changing
PC
anyway.
is do it your damn self, so it's not like Microsoft. It's not like XNA buys you anything special on PC. Yes, your games run on PC, but it's not like there's an app store because you're an XNA. You could do anything on PC, and, you know, so...
You have an even larger... If you're just making a PC game, you have a much, much larger array of frameworks you can choose from, not just multi-platform things
and there's
like
no
Unity.
Other than like C#, but Unity is C#. There's no built-in sales advantage of XNA.
Right.
But it will work with Steam. It'll work with Desarella,
Yeah, I guess.
So it'll work with the online distribution network, so you're not limiting anything either, which is good. But that's it. That's where it stops. And it's like, well, what if you go on iOS? We talked about before the podcast that because of the Oracle lawsuit, some numbers got revealed on Google to reveal that they're $1 billion in mobile revenue. 80% of their mobile revenue, and it wasn't known where their mobile revenue was split because Google wouldn't reveal this information.
Right.
They wouldn't say how much was ads, how much was app sales, how much was, whatever. 80% comes from iOS platforms. It comes from ads in Google apps on iOS platforms or integrated ads into iOS apps through Google. That fucking is crazy. Like, Google's own platform is only 20% of their revenue for their $1 billion in their mobile, which they wanted $2.5 billion for this year, so they way missed their target on that. I think they were holding higher expectations for growth in Android than actually came forward. They put out an iPad 3, people go ape shit. Like iOS is where it's at right now in terms of just usage, eyeballs, gaming, and providing a nice, easy, approachable platform for indies. Because you can launch a console game and get compared against Mass Effect 3, Gears of War 3, Call of Duty 4. Yeah. iOS, so what if you're compared against Angry Birds? So I can do Angry Bird clones. Everybody does is doing clones like crazy on there.
Yeah.
Not a big deal, and they graphically look good. There's Rage, that ID 3D shooter game, but it's such an on-rails lockdown gallery shooter. It's not interesting. It's another larger publisher trying to come to a platform and leverage existing IP and brand names and failing. I've played it, and it's like, this thing is not worth what they're asking.
Isn't that on consoles as well?
I don't think so. Is Rage on consoles?
I don't know.
I thought that was the name, and it may be called something else. I thought that was the name of the game on the iPads.
I got the impression it was, but I haven't gone looking for it.
I played it on a friend's iPad who bought it, and graphically it looks great, but when you realize all it is tap to shoot the guy here.
Well, because, what can you do with 3D on...
Yeah, and on this tiny little touchscreen. But then it's like, okay, yeah, it's on Rage. Yes, it's on Coolness is jumping in there. But
in that sense, it's probably not much different than a lot of the tie-in games that come out on iPad, if it's also on console.
True. Yeah, the chat Smiler is iOS is a lot more indie studios with the 100K budgets. Lone programmers are screwed. I don't think it's different anywhere. I don't think lone programmers have an advantage inherent anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
don't be a lone programmer. Really, is a message is try to find and pair up. If not just to I don't think XNA has anyone using 100K budgets. Dear God, I hope not.
Well, no.
Well, if you're an XBLA studio.
Yeah, I was gonna say like Bastion.
But you're not independent. By my definition of independent. My definition of independent is free of a publisher.
Yeah, if you have a $100,000 budget, yeah, you're probably not.
Yeah, you're not an indie. You're tied to that publisher. You have contracts over IP rights.
You're more independent than a lot of the on
more autonomous.
Autonomous, I guess.
But you don't have independence.
Right.
And to me, that's like, okay, you own all your IP. It's hard to draw a money line as far as what is independent, what's an indie. It's hard to draw a money line. Because Minecraft, just still indie. Even though it's making $80 million or something.
Well, but it's what he came to it with. More than what he made.
It's even his next game is still indie. It's like you control your IP, you control your game. You're not tied to giving that away, and you're using digital distribution services. I mean, Steam is a digital distribution. It's not a publisher. They're not owning your IP when you publish through Steam. And then I think even EA said that Origin programs, that they were not claiming any IP rights or blocking anyone from... They got some flack on some game not available on Steam. Or, no. EA pulled their games, and Steam they pulled their games off Steam, but then this EA published game through like the EA Partners program appeared on Steam, and the EA said like, yeah, the Partners program we do not own, we do not take any IP rights. They can do that. That's their call. You know, what they want to do with their title is their title. Now maybe they agreed they'll be on EA's platform, of course, but that's what's going on there. We got way off. I don't know. Hit the Inception button. What were we talking about?
I think we got into Google making money off of iOS, but I think even that was something...
I was just giving like the sheer size of the iOS ecosystem is incredible, dwarfs the Xbox. You know, so you know, yes, there's no guarantees, but you probably have greater odds of making money in the iOS platform than most of the others, and probably better odds on iOS of making $1 million than, say, the frickin' Money Ball or whatever the hell lottery is up to hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever.
Much better odds, I would say.
All right. Yeah, some talk. The iPad 3 was kind of a letdown for me because it didn't do anything amazing. Retina was kind of expected. You know, I actually expected that on iPad 2, but I kind of understand why they're doing it. Nobody has caught up to them yet, and I mean, even the Kindle Fire with its beautiful price point, had a lot of people returning it. Of just like they're not going to accept, like price is not going to excuse a certain level of crappiness, you know, in hardware and performance. So it's still hard to make a tablet priced lower than Apple's tablets because you can't be the same price. You lose at the same price. You have to be cheaper. It's hard to make a as performant or better performant tablet $100 cheaper than the Apple equivalent. It's just not working out right now for anybody to compete with that. So I understand why they're slowly kind of giving like, all right, well, we'll just give you Retina. And whatever else ideas, we're going to hold them back because the day that somebody does a Kindle Fire 2 drops and it's actually decent, like, hey, I can surf the web, watch Netflix, check email, read my Kindle. This is pretty good, you know. Then iOS can come out with like triggers on the back of the tablet or something for gaming, or you know.
See, I don't even know that they would.
Well, that was the thing mentioned in chat. That's why I went off on that. But like whatever that they would be thinking about they could do would come out once a competitor arrived on the scene.
I think part of it too is that, I mean, the tablet market in a lot of ways mirrors what was happening on phones. So you had all, you know, years and years of iPhone development that led into the iPad, and now it's kind of like, what more can they do without, you know, completely changing everything?
Before I rant on anything, I'll get to the last non-rant news item I threw up, and this was something I actually wanted to talk about last week. And I don't think we got to it. Brian Fargo, who is doing the Wasteland Kickstarter, who today announced, I don't know if you saw this, did you back this Kickstarter? Okay.
No.
That if they hit 2.1 million, which I think they're close to it, let's just see what the Kickstarter page says here. 1.7. So if they hit 2.1 million in the next 17 days, they will work with Obsidian to develop Wasteland 2, and specifically the head of the Obsidian development team that they would work with was the lead for like Fallout 1 and 2 and all these other Interplay games. So basically like the old band is back together to make Wasteland 2, which is awesome. And also on top of that 2.1 billion, not only do we get Obsidian to help write the story and do the initial planning with us, we get some of the Obsidian tools to build our game with. So that speeds our development time, and we can then spend more time and effort on other aspects of the game. That's it. He's got this thing on here where
that's actually pretty awesome, given that Obsidian was considering Kickstarter. Like, it's kind of a way to ease into it without, you know, like, you know, going completely crazy.
The site is kicking it forward that he set up. And the idea, and it's not coming back. in Google. There it goes. Kickingitforward.org. The idea is that the games that are on this site have pledged, once they are successful and they build their game, 5% of all revenue from their games. This is not with the Kickstarter money. This is with money profited after the Kickstarter. 5% goes to other Kickstarter programs. So they will go back, take 5%, and reinvest it in other video game projects on Kickstarter. So kind of like a thank you to the community, come back, and all that. So I wanted to mention that, because I think that's an awesome thing. Also, if you're thinking of kickstarting a game, if you're working on a Kickstarter for a game, seriously consider that, because, he's got a page up where he's listing these Kickstarters. There's more traffic there for you and your Kickstarter. And, without any risk to you, really, because if you get a successful Kickstarter, what's 5% of profits on your game? Not 5% of your Kickstarter, but 5%
profits,
post-Kickstarter, actual sales and profits. That's should be not that much, not that hard to do. And, it just keeps the cycle going, keeps more games getting funded, keeps more shipping, and the industry helping itself to unchain itself from, this very heavy publisher influence model that we're at right now.
The difficulty I think you run into is, it's really going to see how these things perform. If Kickstarter ends up being a way of basically pre-selling the game, like we've discussed with, like Double Fine and all that, if they get a whole bunch of essentially pre-sales in Kickstarter and then don't do as much, then, that's less helpful, but it's still,
yes, and that remains to be seen.
The success of the project.
Because you're pre-selling.
Yeah.
Tim Schafer did 3.3 million, right? But he pre-sold his game. So there's not, all the people who pledged aren't in line day one to buy. Right. At some point, there's some ratio of post-ship sales you gave up to get them pre-sell. Yeah. And so it may only go to 4 million in total. Yeah, and that may be a rough reality wake-up if it's not accounted for, if it's not expected. If people are expecting, these games, once they're kickstarted, to go on and do 10 times the amount in revenue that they were kickstarted for, it may not actually work that way, especially a niche game. You may have sucked up your niche, and that was all you get.
And really, kicking it forward does kind of depend on how that goes. So it'll be interesting to see, as these games start hitting the market. I would like for that to work, obviously.
One of the things that I don't have this week is Kickstarter coverage. I did not get to it, but I do want to check in. I'm pulling up the update. I want to see where they're at. The tactical first-person shooter.
The one that
did you see the new?
Yes, I watched that. The one where he's captured.
Yeah, so it became known as Takedown. And let me mute that and let that play. So he basically had a horrible video, and this is done by Christian Allen, who worked on like the Rainbow Six games. And if you want a hardcore tactical shooter, this is the guy that you want. And he just got up there and like, hey guys, I want to make a hardcore tactical shooter because those things aren't, here anymore. And he didn't explain the difference between this shooter and Call of Duty for the modern audience. And he didn't explain what his game idea was. And, he hinted that, hey, it'll be run by the community and the community will tell us. And it sounded like designed by committee. And he's got this video that he put up this week, which is hilarious. Basically how his Kickstarter's not making it because he's fucked up. He fucked up, and he's trying to make a hardcore game and had nothing hardcore about his video and his pitch and his idea. So this is what you do, man, to save your project, to save your Kickstarter. He's got $60,000 to go and 2 days to do it in. So I don't know. It's a weekend, man. That's a rough last 2 days to do it in. Yeah. During the week, you can get a lot more press and coverage, but it may or may not. It just depends on if it catches Twitter fire, I think. Will it become a successful Kickstarter project on that? So I just want to point that one out because it's a good idea. It's a good thing to have in the back of your mind if you do a Kickstarter, that you can go in and switch it out later and kickstart something else. So I guess with that, I don't know, I can rant a bit. We should probably discuss what happened tonight. Do you want to discuss what happened tonight? Are you able to discuss what happened tonight?
Yes, I haven't quite finished this bottle.
Are you
It's very
able?
small.
Are you drinking it away?
Fuck you, sir.
So, the preface here, and I think we mentioned this on the podcast, is that for Lent, Cicely has given up sodas and chocolate. Right? We talked this about, I don't know if it was in an outtake or if it was on the show, because you've given up meat for Lent, right?
Yes.
But I kind of call shenanigans on Cicely because her Coke has been replaced by sweet tea.
I always drink sweet tea and Coke.
Her chocolate ice cream...
Also nothing but water.
Her chocolate ice cream has become strawberry ice cream.
I like strawberry anyway.
We're not really giving up the sugar, like the real evil.
I'm not giving up sugar.
We're giving up a couple flavors.
I would have killed you by now if I was giving up sugar. You would be dead.
So, then the second part of this is it's my birthday, and we're going over to Mom's house for my birthday, and Mom calls up, because it's always been a tradition growing up in my family. It doesn't happen that often anymore, but growing up, on your birthday, you pick the meal, and Mom would make whatever. And usually I would go and ask for things Mom didn't generally make because they were labor-intensive, like lasagna. Lasagna was one of my favorites. And so this year, Mom, was like, hey, what do you want? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really, not as into it as I was before, and all this. So, just, you don't have to worry. No big deal, whatever. We'll come over for dinner. We'll bring the girls. It'll be a good time. And she's like, well, your wife is already taking care of the cake. So what?
I don't know why she said it like that.
And I said, did she
back up?
She's asked for one of these goddamn supermarket sheet cakes with the extra sweet frosting.
No, I did not.
I was gonna say I saw the cake up there. It did not.
No. That's a second cake. There became multiple cakes.
Oh.
The cake was a lie, and there was another. And then there was a real cake.
I just don't need to stop.
The cake was an actual cake. So I said, you know what? Fuck this. I don't like, because that's what I thought she was going to get, because that's what she likes. She raves about some supermarket cakes or some shit out of her hometown.
It's not supermarket. It's a bakery that's been alive more than you.
I've had it.
What bakery is this?
Rile's Bakery.
I've had it.
Never been there.
And it's a damn sheet cake with oversweet frosting. Okay? Fuck this cake. It is not.
Fuck you and my childhood.
So, if it's up to me, like if it was truly up to me, the cake would be like a cheesecake or a pecan pie,
So it would be a pie, not a cake.
Pretty much, yes. And, I'm not a huge cake person, right?
It has to be done right.
I told Mom, fine, she can have her damn sheet cake, but I want it chocolate. And I want it with chocolate frosting. And I want fucking chocolate shavings on the chocolate frosting, on the chocolate cake, and I want my happy birthday Michael written in chocolate syrup on the chocolate cake with the chocolate frosting and the chocolate sprinkles. And now that I think about it, I want Coca-Cola napkins, Coca-Cola plates to eat this cake off of, Coca-Cola tablecloth, Coca-Cola cups, just red and white Coca-Cola. I want a wall of Coca-Cola cans lined up on the wall. I want there to be a Coca-Cola can set out at every place. Everybody has a Coke. I want a Coke and chocolate birthday party.
I want to point something out to you. I want to reframe this a bit. Your mother gives you one wish, let's call it wish, on your birthday, one wish, and you use that wish to spite your wife.
Yes.
Does something
she
not
started it?
I did not.
By making the decision on my cake.
Your mother started it by saying, your husband has not picked a cake. I need to know what cake.
You should have opted out at that moment and said, I'm not qualified to make this decision. without consultation.
But you get
supplied
two
an
cakes.
answer.
She was willing to get 2
because you don't
cakes.
really
This
like
was not an
cake.
issue.
We escalate. That's what happens. There is only escalation. The only response is to escalate. And then actually it became a chore to find the Coca-Cola placemats and plates and cups and all that. This is the kind of shit that is everywhere until you look for it. And then you can't find it anywhere.
I think you were telling me about this yesterday. I think it's a thing, because I've done this before, like, you think is everywhere. Like, I know I've seen that. And
napkins that say Coca-Cola on it. You know, even with the stupid polar bears, like, they should be everywhere. You know,
if this was Atlanta...
Well, we have a Coke plant in Knoxville.
We don't have a museum, though.
We don't. I called the Coke plant in Knoxville, which is not open to the public. And, you know, they're like, hey, we're not, we're not open to the public. And, but we don't have anything like this. But what I can give you, because, like, the receptionist is like, yeah, you were right. When I called up and I said, this is going to sound weird. She's like, yeah, this is new.
You went this far, again. This is escalation. She
said, well, there's a company in town that prints, actually, our merchandise. So, like, Coca-Cola doesn't print all this stuff. Coca-Cola licensed a paper printing company to print this stuff in local regions, and that local company then gets it to Regal Cinemas or whoever needs it with whatever logos Regal needs on it as well, right? And she's like, they might sell to you, the public, or something. I don't know if they do that, because they usually sell to, like, Regal Cinemas. So she gave me the number to them, and I called them, and again, I was like, this is going to sound weird. And she's like, yeah, that sounds weird. But I'm like, this is shit that you always think is there until you look for it and realize it's not. And she's like, yeah, I know that. But she's like, well, do you have a company? And I'm like, yes, I do. She's like, okay, well, we can add that. And you talk to this person at Coke, so maybe they'll approve it. We'll send it with a note or something like that, because they have to approve that, and then maybe we can do, like, a small run or something for you. We'll see, and, you know, with the budget. I'm like, well, wait a minute. This doesn't sound like it happens today, because the party's tomorrow. And it's like, oh, no, that didn't happen today. So we ended up having to get creative. Mom got creative, laid out white tablecloth, or red tablecloth, and white streamers down it, cut out the Coca-Cola logos from the boxes and just set logos around various places. It set the scene for when we brought Cicely over to the house. What was the reaction? What was your...
My brain refused to admit what was going on at the first, and I was like, and your mom was trying to explain and telling me to turn around to look and see what's behind me, and I'm just like, my baby is here. My brain is not functioning. I don't know why I'm not functioning right now, but I don't wish to come out of this haze of not functioning.
Because that is when the breaking stuff happens.
Well, I think there was just a whisper of, you're not going to live to see 37. I think that's...
That was whispered, yes.
Yeah. And then, so we go on to the night. I told for the meal meatloaf. So, you know, we had a great, Dad made a great meatloaf. Dad made 2 huge-ass meatloafs. Would you say 6 pounds worth of meatloaf?
2 9x13 pans.
Yeah. Just packed with meatloaf. We got a whole tray upstairs. Did it get in the refrigerator?
I don't know.
Did you go run and check that? I think I just set it on the kitchen counter.
On that for a week, if you refrigerate it.
Yeah, if we refrigerate that. So we have the meal, and then it's cake and ice cream time, you know, and then we got to run for the podcast, and my daughters have sleepovers, and Mom, that's where Jasmine's at tonight. She's over at her grandmom's with one of her sisters, and her other sister has a sleepover party. So we had to go run and get, you know, that taken care of and heading out. So I was like, well, we got to do the cake, and so we do the candles, and we brought the candles and all that. And Mom actually got 2 cakes. She got the sheet cake, and she bought a normal chocolate round, you know, chocolate all the way through cake.
Plus whatever cake Cicely got.
Plus the cake that Cicely requested, which Cicely did request buttercream frosting. So Cicely actually did know that I don't like the sugar frosting.
I don't really like the sugar frosting either. I like buttercream better.
Yeah.
I don't know the difference. I really like the, I've had the cream cheese, which is...
Cream cheese is good
It's
too.
okay,
Cream
yeah.
cheese can be good.
But yeah, I agree. Like the sugar
Yeah.
is.
So she
Too much.
she got the which I mean there's sugar and buttercream, so it's weird not to say not the sugar one, but so makes the buttercream, and we go to cut the buttercream cake.
And I'm
And
cutting the
it's-
cakes, and
Yeah, she's cutting the cake, and it's a cake that she can have. And Mom had bought ice cream that wasn't chocolate, so that Cicely could still have cake and ice cream, right?
Undermining the escalation.
Undermining the escalation. Yes, she's undermining her son's birthday wishes. And
This does not sound healthy. Like this.
but she cuts into the cake, and the cake is chocolate.
and so
And Mom goes and starts yelling, and all we got, and they go get the cake box, and the cake box actually says it's chocolate. Like they picked up the wrong one, and had got a chocolate buttercream frosted cake.
Happy birthday to me.
And you know,
I'm
I
sure
said at
what
that
you are
moment, because I'm
doing.
not doing Lent, because I'm pretty borderline atheist, you know, so I'm not doing that stuff. But I said to my brother, I was like, you know, this has me believing there might be a God. There might be a God smiling upon me this day. Yeah, so that was my birthday. Actually, I didn't get my presents from you. Or is that punishment?
No, we just didn't get to the time because you were running late earlier, and I was going to have you putting them on after you got through running around at front. But we were running so late.
Yeah, we
at
were
that
running
point.
late. Okay.
I was
Did you bring them back with you?
They're in the closet upstairs.
Oh, so we didn't bring them
No.
to the park. Oh, okay. All right, they're in the
So
closet
I
upstairs.
was like, I'm not bringing these back and forth.
Is there Mass Effect 3?
No.
Are you shitting with me?
No.
Should you just
I don't
open
believe
the
her.
gifts on
I
the
don't believe her.
podcast?
She didn't. No, she's lying.
No. I'm not lying.
Like I said, open the gifts on the podcast. Do it.
They're not
Uh,
wrapped.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like jeans and
Jeans and a gift card.
a gift card.
and
You
Mass
can get
Effect
Mass
3.
Effect with that.
Or not.
It's not
Whatever.
enough
I don't
for
know.
Mass Effect, but you can get Mass Effect with that.
So, I mean, that was really just, you know, kind of looking forward to. I got Mass Effect 2 to play through first, though. Not to play through the game, play through the DLC. I decided I'm going to go do the DLC, on that. So yeah, that was the birthday. Yeah.
What?
Looking over for a rant setup. I'm just gonna set up the first rant. Now I want to say on these, I'm gonna have some fun with these. If I mention a site, a company, a person, think of it like a roast, okay? It is an honor to be
Oh.
bitched at by me on this podcast
On his birthday.
on my birthday.
This attitude sounds nearly as unhealthy as escalation.
It's like saying, please don't take offense to this next offensive statement. You know, it's like, wait, you
I
can't just
only
claim
hit
that.
you because I love you.
Right. I don't mean this to sound racist, but, you know, like, no, stop.
Oh, I've heard horrible things that follow that statement.
You see what had happened was...
Karma Sutra has an article. Microsoft. Consumers using Xbox Live media for more than gaming. File this under the no shit Sherlock header of game journalism coverage. You know, so general, this is not just Karma Sutra. This is just general our gaming press. Sucks ass. At many levels. From the top, you know, the Ars Technica and the giant bombs down to the bottom. Because there's such an echo chamber there. If one site covers it, all of them cover the same story. And I would just like to request of that to cut the shit out and write your own stories. And it would behoove you a little sometimes every now and then to research the article you're cutting and pasting into your site. You know, like if your joystick covering the Kotaku, covering the Reddit of a forum, go read the forum thread for Christ's sake. You know, as Kotaku, as, you know, as Joystick should have done. You know, like all the way through. Stop and read the entire forum and see if A, Did the previous person who covered that cover the actual issue correctly? Was that the point? Or was this an excerpt line taken out of context, and the thread was really something else, and that was just one crazy post troll in the thread? But also, you may have another angle to the story. You may have another, idea to contact someone else, to get a different interview, to get a perspective. God forbid we actually have journalism in game journalism. That said, my first official, that was kind of generic all over the place. That's like nobody targeted. That's not what I'm here for. That's nothing that would get me in trouble. That's a normal night on the podcast. That's what we call Friday night at Mike's house. The first one to name names, to call out a name and say I have a bone to pick with someone, is going to be the indie gamer chick. Carrie Weiss.
Okay.
We're going to call out Carrie, not for her writing style, not for her tough-as-nails approach, not for her busting the balls of indie game developers, because to be honest, they need to be beaten more than they need to be helped. The indie gamers need more negative press on them than
I'm
they
sensing
need
a
positive
pattern
press.
here of just unhealthy ways of relating to people.
But not only, so what I'm saying is not only, is it not her site, not her content, not her. In fact, God bless what she is doing, because the internet is very cruel to a female who states an opinion. And I know for a fact, without having to see any evidence, she has gotten far worse hate mail than we have ever seen on any shit we ever did on GameMarx. I can state that without needing any proof to know that is the truth. And, I'd love to see, as she's more out there as herself, pictures of herself, being her personality, because her most valuable asset is her name and her own brand. She's building a reputation. Like, if you go, and I've said this sometimes before, of like, you have the Yahtzee route of the guy who hates everything, the critic who is always cruel, right?
To the point that it's exaggerated.
But if you say Yahtzee Crenshaw is doing X, he's a name. I know his name. I will go watch him do a panel, or watch him do a video, or watch him do something, even if it's not extra punctuation.
Zero punctuation.
Zero punctuation. Even if it's not zero punctuation, because he's built a name and a brand. So she's doing everything right there. I'll admit a twinge of jealousy watching how fast she got traffic. Basically a few months, she earned the traffic levels that GameMarx had taken a year to build. And not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest. But, all that said, Carrie, you have to put a fucking review score on a review, or it is a blog. This is non-negotiable. The review score, while it is bullshit in and of itself as a metric, as a bearing, and Metacritic as a whole just magnification of the bullshit of the review score.
It can be as simple as thumbs up, thumbs down.
It can be thumbs up, thumbs down. We chose to do buy, try, or pass because numbers were kind of bullshit, right? But this review system, you have to have a final score, because it is the one thing that you cannot go back on, that states unequivocally your opinion of the game. When you give a thumbs down to a game, you are saying, do not play it, it was not a good game. Now, if you wrote some good parts in the game in the review, then, you had some highlights for the game. But ultimately, not a good game. When you don't have that review score, you can spin this. And I've read this said. I've read her say this. I've read a review, thought she didn't like the game. Developer thought she didn't like the game. Somebody else thinks she doesn't like the game. And then she responds, what are you talking about? Here's this line and this line and this line where I say how great these things were. This was a good game. And she's probably honest. She liked the game. Okay? It's probably not a case of spinning it to not appear confrontational, because what the fuck is her entire blog style about but being confrontational, right?
But it gives context.
And the fact that we all took it one way and she states it another way can give the impression of spinning it, even if that wasn't the case. And we took it the wrong way, not to be a good game. Now, she kind of has this with, like, her top 10 list that she has in the sidebar, does on that, but, yeah. So, we love Indie Gamer Chick. We hope to see her covering indie games for many, many more years forward, and I'm glad to have her on the scene. I'm glad every now and then, and by that I mean once a month at most, to wade into an Indie Gamer Chick, Master Blood, Dave Boyle's cage match. If you're gonna go on record and say Michael Keaton was shit as Batman, I'm gonna have words to say on that. If you think Superman 1 and 2 sucked, I'm gonna have words to say on that, too.
I'm pretty sure if you don't like Michael Keaton as, like, if that is an issue for you, it probably has to do with your age.
It probably does. That doesn't make your opinion correct. I think that was my tweet on that. My tweet to her was, I understand it's your opinion. However, you're wrong. Michael Keaton is Batman. That's on that. So I don't mind every now and then, allowing blood pressure to race on stupid nerd topics. Like I said, there's certain forums I don't go into anymore because, or like posting in the XNA forums anymore, just to keep the blood pressure, maintainable and manageable, because, those demons rear their heads, the forum demons, they, I don't have a good guy and a bad guy. I have attack the subject, attack the person. That's what I have. I had ad hominem and stay on topic, Nobody going like, or just let it go, because it doesn't matter, and you made your point.
You can't do that.
No, that guy is dead in a trunk and buried somewhere. The second person that I would like to call out, who again, nothing but mad prop and respect for. James Silva. Fuck you, sir. Not because you're successful, respect you for it. Not because you pretty much ass backward landing into the awesome game design job of running your own company after working in the real world for 4 months. No, all of that, living the dream, man. I love it. That is awesome. Not because zombies was a gimmick. It got popular. I love it. I think it highlighted, and we had so many conversations about how you really need to look for gimmicks in indie games. This is really saying if you want to be successful, you need a hook as an indie. You can't just have good gameplay. A hook needs to be good. Not that he's won or has Xbox Live Arcade, things going on. No. The thing that pisses me off about James Silva on Twitter, is one man should not be able to both fucking program and draw for a game. You should not
do the music.
And do music. You should not be able to... The music, it doesn't tick me off as much, but he can do the music as well. But the fact that he can draw the art, good damn looking game art, and program good damn performant games is fucking inexcusable. Alright? You should have to find somebody and pair with them. One man should not have all that power. That's what I'm saying. Words of Kanye West. He said it. It is true. Anything, Dylan? Chime in on abusing our former guests?
I think...
He is a Renaissance man. That is all.
Even like some of the Renaissance men. Okay, even like Notch. Notch is a damn good programmer. His art is ass. It's a lovable form of ass.
Pixel art.
That we have come to know and love as an art style. Like, it's like David Gilmour of Pink Floyd. David Gilmour of Pink Floyd said on record in an interview, I can't play fast, so I don't. Fucking Pink Floyd, man, made a career of not playing fast.
Run with your strengths,
exactly. And he took awful pixel graphics and made them kind of quirky, cute in their own way, and then let other people come in and, reskin his game, reskin Minecraft and run it. But for crying out loud, the Creeper was a failed attempt to make a pig. That was supposed to be the pigs. And he made the Creeper, okay? Obviously the guy is challenged in the art department. I mean, I still have trouble reconciling, like, what did you think a pig looked like? Do you have pigs in Sweden? Did you have to Wikipedia what a pig looked like before you tried to design one? It seemed like when you were going with mostly box art, it would have been pretty damn easy. In fact, you look at the pigs, and it's a box for a body and a box for a head, horizontally spaced out, and some little box legs, and you got a pig. Make it pink. Do they even have tails? No, it's in the graphic, isn't it? Yeah, so, you know, he's an excellent programmer, but, you know, bringing on a team, bringing on artists. And James doesn't need to do that, and that's not fair to the rest of us.
Well, to be fair, I think even it goes beyond having the skills. It's the ability to switch between the skills.
Captain Quirk is asking what the term ass means, and I think there may be a generational gap in my slang. Ass in this case is just imagine the smell of an ass, basically. Like, it reeks of the odor and foul stenches of the ass. I think, would that be the Urban Dictionary definition?
There's just no good. There's no good connotation.
No, not in the way that it was used there. Yeah. No.
I think you have assaulted his age.
Wow.
Wow.
I think we figured out I'm half his age. I think we truly figured out at one point that I am half his age. So,
you were half his age, like half his age right now, or you were half his age?
I think before my birthday. Point? Yes.
Okay. You know that changes.
I guess, but so does his. So.
Well, yeah, but
if we went to decimal places, maybe not so much. But we don't do that. We do whole numbers. And well, up to a point. When you're 12 and a half. And then you're just fucking 36. You're not 36 and a half. You're not pushing that number any higher than it has to be. It is what it is. Next I have on my list Mr. George Klingerman.
Okay.
And you may actually have an idea, because I was asking a question earlier. You may have a hint of an idea of why he makes the list.
I actually don't, because I don't remember this question. When you say you were asking a question earlier, you mean tonight?
You may not have connected, but it's understandable if you don't. And again, not because he locks forum posts. He's an excellent mod. That's what they do. God bless them all. You know, they keep those forums pretty damn clean. Even though I see shit that I wouldn't rather see locked, I know the positions that they're in, respect them for it, and, you know, that's the way it is. That's Microsoft's rules. That's what happens. I think it's funny that the first question in the Dream Build Play forums was about how the eligibility of entering a game that is already shipped and locked because that's legal advice. Read the contest rules. And I just thought it's funny because the first rule of Dream Build Play is not to talk about Dream Build Play. You know? That's Microsoft's fault on that one, though. So it's not that. You know, it's not him, you know, being an XMA MVP. It's for damn sure not the poor fact that poor man has 4 sons, to deal with. Not that I'm far behind in that department with 3 daughters, but, I can, appreciate and definitely empathize, where he's at. No, it has to do with Kissy Poo. And no, it doesn't have to do with the fact that Inca Blocks always measured our success off of how many spaces down on the family list that Kissy Poo was from, or that Inca Blocks was from Kissy Poo. Because we were doing well, we were only like a box 2 down. But when we started to slip, then we started to lose. And that was the easy way.
We could have just been in board games and avoided that issue altogether.
We could have.
We would have had some other metric, but
yes.
Yeah, we would have picked another game.
It wouldn't be personal.
The best metric I have is how close we were to I made a game with zombies in it when you sorted it alphabetically. At one point, we were right behind them. Then we slipped a few places even on that list. No, in Kissy Poo, there is a song. There is some singing of love, 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 and dance time. In which George Klingerman actually used Microsoft Songsmith to make that. He sang into the Microsong where it auto-generates chord progressions and melody lines and auto-corrects and all of that. And the fuck you here is for if you have a kid that plays Kissy Poo, you have that fucking song stuck in your head.
Forever.
And it's an ass song. Again, using the prior definition of ass as we established before in the podcast. And it's just like, do a little dance.
Because it's
dancing time. You know, like that's in your head. You know, you just da-da-da, da-da-da. You know, it's just in your head at random moments in the day. Because, I mean, it's algorithmically generated music. So I think it's really predisposed to be memorable, to stick in your mind, because it's really like the average sum of music, right?
I was going to say certain chords naturally follow other chords.
Exactly.
So
if you just put these couple chords together, you've heard songs that sound like this. So if I just trigger that synapse in your brain, you're going to immediately associate and remember it because so many other songs sound like that. It's like that comedian that rants on Pachelbel's Canon. Have you seen this? If you've not seen this, go to YouTube and find this Pachelbel Canon rant, because all these songs by all these bands like Green Day and everybody, they're using the chord progression from Pachelbel's Canon.
Is that the same? There's one I've seen where like they play 3 chords and they do like 5 or 6 different songs and they slightly change up the progression. Another 3 chord progression. They do another 5 or 6 different songs.
Except that Pachelbel's chord is about an 8 progression.
Yeah.
So it's not the 3 chord progression. There is a set of comedians I've seen do like the shorter one where they go on there. Like this is one guy talking about he played cello.
And they just take like subsets of.
Is he playing cello in this, or is he playing guitar? You've seen it. I don't remember if he's playing guitar. He talks about playing cello and hating Pachelbel's Canon because they played it a lot, as strings.
Because it was simpler.
Yeah, maybe he was playing guitar at that time, and how much he just hated that song. And then he would pick up guitar, and he would never have to play that damn song again. But guess what? All of these top 100 hits, that's what they are. Even like the we've had the time of our lives, Green Day.
Yeah.
That's like the same chord progression. Some of them you don't quite realize because they're so sped up.
There has
so
to be
disjointed.
like something thrown in there, like 1 measure instead of 2 measures or something.
Yeah, it's just a descending line, but yeah. So it all right.
Songsmith though.
Songsmith, yeah. That's the rant on that. The last 2 that I've got here are Microsoft and Google. Now, we'll do the Google Plus because it's kind of just a lighthearted rant. But the Microsoft one has some more passion behind it, has some more sting. The Google rant is fucking Google Plus. Let it the fuck go, alright? You're not taking over Facebook. Quit putting your goddamn Google Plus penis into all of my Google app vaginas that I don't want it in. Okay? You have violated my Google Reader. You have violated my Gmail.
What does Gmail do that's so, like, egregious?
You've got the goddamn toolbar across the top, and you got the little, like, flashing, you have some red number going on over here because somebody made a photo upload. The Google Reader was it killed my sharing of news articles.
Okay, I was gonna say like the toolbar and the red thing. Like I don't know a lot of people who use Google for photo sharing, so like I keep Google Plus up in a pinned tab, but nothing ever.
Slowly, like something's happened, and the tabs become unpinned, and I haven't been putting them back. So I think I have like. Just like the browser at the house has the Google Plus tab pinned, but I'm not in there checking it anymore. I'm not reading with that.
I really need to go back and clean out some of my followers.
Pissed me off. Well, okay, so Apple pissed me off a little bit because Apple has the iCloud, and I've turned on my photo sync. And the other day I've been photo syncing all my videos and shit through iCloud. I don't want to sync them to a PC. I just find out what the website is for iCloud. I log into it for the first time ever. And there's no photo app. So they have this photo thing where they're storing all my photos in the cloud, and I can't view them from a browser. Do they fucking know what the word cloud means?
I imagine Apple's answer to it. Why, it means whatever we say it means.
Exactly.
Why would you question
Why are
this?
you not installing iTunes on every desktop you use? All I wanted to do was email a photo.
They know best.
No, view some photos.
They know best. They know best. Don't. No. No.
And, Frog the Door just posted the Pockbell's canon. In the dominant chord notation. I think that's what you actually call that. The 1 to the 5th to the minor 2nd to the minor 3rd. Oh, sorry, the minor 4th to the minor 3rd. To the major 4th, back to the 1st, back to the 4th, and then to the 5th. Bang. And they just do that for whatever key that you want to play. And you probably already know these chords. I could sit you down and
I was going to say, actually, in one of the guitar books I have has, like, Pockbell's canon. Like, they use an example of, like, different picking patterns you can use.
And it's worthwhile to learn the chord progression basics. To learn that jazz does a lot of 2-5 back and forth from the 2nd to the 5th in the scale. So basically, you take the scale that you're in, and I know we're getting off road, but it's my birthday, so fuck you. To anybody who objected to me getting off into music theory. Take the scale that you're in, and when you say 2-5, go from the 2nd note to the 5th note. So if you're in the scale of C, you're in the key of C, you got the C major scale. The 2nd D would actually be D minor, okay, in the key of C. So it would be D minor to the 5th G major. And a lot of jazz bops back and forth between those two chords, and they never hit the dominant. I mean, it's jazz. They do what the fuck they want to do, you know, on that. Obviously, 1-4-5 is your 3-chord blues rock progression that you want to know on that. And the blues hit a lot of the 7th note, sometimes called the blues note, on the scale, and that's the one that you can bend the shit out of and all of that. Well, you just know some of these basics. It becomes really easy to pick up and play these styles. And then you can do these progressions while changing the keys. And so, like, instead of doing C major, do C minor, and then you will actually change that. And you can get some pretty cool sounds and interesting progressions while actually doing the same physical moves, but just sliding the keys and where you start things, you get different effects. Like, if you start, you know, on the E, right? And so you play the E minor, the F major, and the G major in the C scale, and you play those 3 back and forth, you can get a flamenco-style rhythm going on and a Spanish guitar effect, you know, and that's just kind of where they kind of start. And then when you're soloing, when you're playing guitar solos and all that, you have another option. Like, if you're playing the C major scale, your C major key, you can fit over top of that an A minor, right?
Like an A minor chord or A minor scale?
A minor scale. In fact, it's very common to do that. So start and stop on A.
So you jump between the 2 scales?
Well, it's the same scale. A minor and C major are the same scales. But you're starting and stopping on A. Your solo is giving weight to the A, okay, which is the 6th note, creates this kind of bluesy kind of feel on that. But you can totally play A minor scale on top of A minor, which many times blues do. But some of the blues stuff will do it over C, and just have, you know, different kinds of styles. One of the things that, like Santana, like if you want to play with Santana, Dorian, which would be starting on the 2nd, Dorian mode. A lot of times these scales on the guitar are called modes, but it's like the same shit. It's just, for some reason, we call it modes. I don't know where that came in. But Circle of Fists gets thrown in on this as well. But Santana liked playing a Dorian solo in the Dorian mode, so basically shift it up from 2 to 2, on top of the major roots. And if you do that on the guitar, like all of a sudden you're like, I kind of figure this sounds like Santana all of a sudden. Like, I kind of sound like Santana a little bit here, you know? And it's just like, these juxtapositions, and it's really cool because when you break it down, it's like this stuff is really actually simple. There's these tricks in the bag you could do, and then through practice, especially on the guitar, you kind of learn where all these phrases live on your guitar, and so that anywhere on the neck, especially if I'm in E or A minor, sometimes B minor, because for some ass reason, a lot of blues is in B minor. I don't know, maybe just to get wild, they just shifted up a note. To me, that just seems weird because A minor and E minor can make use of a lot of open strings. And the guitar just kind of works like that. So, yeah, there's a guitar hanging in the back of the picture, but we're not hooked up. One of these days, somebody asked, is there a guitar in the house to demonstrate all this with? One of these days, we will plug our guitars into the sound equipment and kind of screw around a little bit.
That'll be
interesting, I think. Yeah, we've got the ports and stuff. We could do it. It could happen. So we probably will. So that was all on the music stuff.
Yes.
The Google Plus stuff, I think I kind of made my point there on the Google Plus. It's just they're putting it everywhere and it sucks, and now it's becoming Google Play.
That seemed really, really weird when they changed. But I noticed they changed the branding from Android to Google, and I don't know
what's going on there and what they're. It seems like they have more in the works.
There seems like a strategy there, but I don't know what it is.
And we don't know what it is, but Google Play seems to unite all their App Store and music services, and but it just seems like Google is, instead of chasing Apple, they're chasing Microsoft. Like, first you start propping up new products that aren't launching the way you want with tried and true existing products people love. Then you start renaming your own services in the new current theme, Everything is pluses. Everything is, Passport. Oh, wait. What we mean to say is Google Play. Everything's gonna be Google Play services. Everything is live, It's live mesh. It's and it's like, you're not really doing anything new here. You're just marketing your way out of this shit, and you're not good at marketing. Neither Google nor Microsoft are good at marketing. I would not give either one of those.
No,
they are companies of engineers and developers.
Yeah,
and they market like such.
It really is unfortunate because, especially with Google Plus, it's like they're doing everything technically right, everything structurally, data, functionality right. It's just
the whole idea of circles is something a programmer would come up with.
Yeah,
but you can't explain that to your mom.
Yep.
How they work. And, there's fundamental problems with circles, too, in that, like Nick Gravlin, that we talked about earlier, he has a circle for developers, so that when he posts stuff of interest to developers, it goes to that developer circle. Now, I would love to follow Nick Gravlin and get his information as a developer, because that's why I would follow him. I would follow him for his development stuff. His circles, what they are and who are in them is private. The posts that he makes of his development stuff go to the private circle list. How do I find out that he's even doing that stuff? That there's this great list of stuff that he's posting that I want to see, and you get in this public, and then you know what? Oh, fuck it, everything's public.
The thing about social networks
really, you have family and public.
Yeah, there's right and wrong ways to do things depending on what you're trying to do. So every mechanism for friending people or subscribing people or whatever has its drawbacks, and
Yeah. There's talking about some Google Play in the chat. Google Play is actually more of an umbrella other than just like the Google Music thing. It actually incorporates the App Store.
Yeah.
It incorporates video or something, and so they're bringing several of their existing properties. I'm actually kind of digging Google Music. Google Music is pretty cool.
I wonder how that's going to work, though, because
they don't fuck it up with making it Google Play.
I was going to say, on the Android phone, it's like, and I think Verizon actually sent out text messages saying this, like, hey, Marketplace is going to become Google Play. Marketplace makes sense. Google Play is just...
Exactly, Google Play sounds like...
What the hell is this?
Google Play does not sound like a place I want to go get an app from.
No.
And I want to give Google Play money.
It sounds like something an engineer would argue that... No, it is play, because they play games, and they want to do stuff, and you want to play around, and...
I suspect what they're doing is trying to combat, like, Amazon has their app store. There are all these different third-party app stores.
Last thing you want to be known as is the Android default to generic app store.
Yes.
And yeah, so maybe they need to combat
Maybe
that.
gearing up against
I don't
Amazon.
think, maybe these are conversations they're having internally. I don't think the whole open sourcing the Android has played out the way that they thought it would.
No. Well, I mean, basically gave
Geeks love
Amazon
it. Geeks love it, but yeah, it hasn't really reaped them any benefits.
Although, the ad revenue, like I was saying when we first started talking about that, Google's an ad company. I don't think they care as much if they sell hardware or anything like that.
Exactly.
Or software.
And that's something that I wonder, are they forgetting a little bit as they munge on like, who cares if Google Reader has its own sharing system? It gets a +1 button. Fine. Okay, you have a plus button on my article. Although the plus buttons make it look worse because you go to an article and Facebook, 15,000 likes on this article. Google, 213 +1s. Like, it makes it worse, you know, by like, yeah, you guys aren't interesting at all to anyone. What was I saying?
I don't know.
Before that, Inception button. What
Google
were we just
Play,
talking about? I had a point. I don't know. It's lost. Microsoft.
Challenge. Not XBLIG related.
It is.
It is? Okay.
But
like I said, like that would be it's difficult.
And this is why I said this one actually doesn't have the spirit of fun in it that the rest do. And it's the underlying reason of why I get upset about XNA. It's the underlying reason of why the dashboard changes upset me. It's the underlying reason of why not fixing the vote rating stuff really pisses me off. Because, you know, it's from a company, so it seems weird to say this, but there was a promise made. Whether explicitly written or heavily implied, there was a promise of a future of digital distribution brought on by community games that later became the Xbox Indies. Okay? There was the message of democratizing distribution. And that opening up the Xbox to allow anybody, no matter what, to be able to publish their game and stand on the merits of your game, not how many ads you have on the dashboard, not the artificial release cycles of bundling things up and metering them out slowly. And since launch, since that first year or two, Microsoft has done everything in its power to renege on that promise and push us backwards on the digital distribution front. And, you know, it starts off with the limitations in the XNA framework that indie developers have to live with, down to achievements. They're fucking upping achievements for DLC and XBLA now, right? So, like, XBLA can now do 800, right? An XBLA game could do 400. They used to be able to do 200, now they do 400? Is that what it is?
I want to say it was... I keep remembering 400.
400 is what I remember.
It seems high. I want to say it was 200 something. And it 200 seems appropriate. 1,000 was a game. 1,000 is a game. So I want to say it went from 200 to 400. And it's like your arguments or any arguments of value of the achievement system is bullshit. That's 100% bullshit. There are no inherent value like monetary economic value to gamer score. In fact, almost everybody I know does not. The big number is talked about in brief, and it's always game to game comparisons. It's always how many gamers, how many achievements did you get on this game compared to how many achievements I got on that game. If it's ever used competitive, it's always on a game by game basis. Because if not, it's just like you play a ton of games, I don't. So let's just talk about the few we have in common. It's even set up on the dashboard to facilitate that. You know, I can go and see our games we both played and who has the most achievements.
You're right. It's now 400.
It's 200 to 400. Yeah. The achievement thing is crap. The leaderboard thing is crap. And you know what? Fuck it. Fine. We can't play your reindeer games. We can't have achievements and leaderboards and all of that because it's hard for you to code it, or you don't think it belongs there, or whatever. Okay, fine. The fucking internet access rule? Are you fucking kidding me? Because now you're just trying to cap indies from being able to actually have these features on their own. You know, don't give me that you can't lock down the internet on the Xbox. For crying out loud, apps on the phone can connect to the internet, and they're fine. They're not corrupting your operating system. You know, you have a vetting process. You're taking over 30% per game sale. You have games that have sold in the millions now. Don't tell me you don't have a budget to monitor some of this shit. And you do so much monitoring for fraud on the Xbox already that there's probably already packet sniffers up and running on the Xbox of where things are going and what they're pulling back, and you could easily just limit it to port 80 and HTML. You know, get requests only. Yeah. Fine, we'll work with that. We'll deal with something that. Force it to be SSL if you want, you know? Force it to relay off of Azure. You know? We have to go get an Azure account, get some Azure storage. For crying out loud, there's a free version of Azure that anybody can sign up for. I think, right?
Is it? I don't know. Is that
There's a low tier of Azure that I think now doesn't even require... I could be wrong on that. But I thought, like there's an Amazon free tier, that Azure has now offered a free tier.
At least on the Amazon free tier, it's just S3. It's just the storage account. I don't think you can get free...
it's free server type level.
I may be wrong about that, but I believe that's the case.
So if it's not, it's dirt cheap. You know what? And we're paying our $99. If you want to use cloud services, you got to pay $2.99 for the enhanced game, whatever. Make some more fucking money on it. Who cares? Just so that we can do that. The disgusting thing was the reply in the forums from the XNA team when I mentioned, hey guys, you could give this to us just by putting it on Azure. Now you control everything, so you don't have to worry. Right? The response was... Do you remember this one?
No, I do not.
The response was, we like to keep things in our own control and not outside systems.
Well, I mean...
And it's like, yeah, I fucking get what you said. You're the Xbox team, that's the Azure team. No, fuck you. You're wrong. You're Microsoft and Microsoft. That you can't work cross-department is fucked up. Especially when the Azure team is going on road shows to game conferences talking about how to use Azure for social games. They're out there pushing Azure Toolkit for games. They have a leaderboard. They have a login system. You know, do they have achievements?
I don't know, but...
That would be hilarious if they actually implemented a achievement system for the social gaming toolkit. But I know they did leaderboards and logins with that. And it's like, just... So this is really the true rant, is that Microsoft led down a way, somewhat made a promise. It's not like it's in writing, it's a contract, okay? But they failed to deliver on that. I think they'll pay dearly in the next console cycle. I think they're going to get bit by another console migrating toward digital distribution, possibly partnering with a Steam or something like that. That's got to be talked about. Tons of people are talking about that already. Every time there's some whiff that Valve may be doing it, it's major press everywhere. So if Valve isn't doing that, other people are seeing the press going, we should do something like that.
Sony or Nintendo could look at just even a phone marketplace or Steam and say, you know, we can do something like that.
We can do something like that. But not only that, Microsoft is going to suffer a PS2 curse on this. There are too many Xbox 360s out there that when the Xbox 720 drops, games are going to have to come out for both.
Yeah.
You're just not going to ignore that size market unless Microsoft's going to launch a $199 console, and I don't see that happening.
No.
This is not going to happen. So I don't see it. I see them suffering from their own success of the 360, and digital distribution would be a beautiful way around that. Because if they had it right, and if they had the XNA support working, all of your indie games and your XNA titles and your DLC and all that content that you downloaded, maybe not the discs, but all this downloaded content that's in XNA, because it's a managed framework, it's not native to the system, runs on your 720. Your content comes over, and guess what? It'll perform better on new hardware. And that's the promise of the PC. I just upgrade, all my stuff runs better, right?
Yeah.
And if they did that, then there's a compelling reason to upgrade to, a 720, because, hey, I can, move all my existing stuff over. I just keep going. It's just like buying a new 360 when one wears out, let's go ahead and get a 720. So, Captain Quirk is asking, do I have an opinion about Kinect? The Kinect is very cool technology. It is amazing. I will probably next Friday will be an open house for the Technology Cooperative, and I have been known to bring down the Kinect down there to play demos and play around and what it can do. For the game world, it has the same curse as a Nintendo Wii, which is meaning the types of games, it's actually more limiting than a controller. Like right now, we have not figured out how to use motion controls or Kinect to enable a more deep gaming experience than we could with a controller, right? Because you have like 16 or something buttons on the Xbox controller.
Yeah.
16, 20 buttons on the controller. You don't have 16 or 20 motions you can easily do that are identifiable or even make sense, And even if you are, that gets kind of crazy.
You kind of have to find something that fits the kind of the way Kinect works.
The current cost for the Kinect, there's actually two you can go out there and get now for $100 or $150.
$150, I believe.
$150, you can get a Kinect for an Xbox. If you don't have an Xbox, then you can get an Xbox bundled with the Kinect for about $250. I think is usually where the bundles are priced. The Kinect for the Xbox will connect to a PC. So you can use it on a PC without an Xbox. However, Microsoft has a PC-specific Kinect unit that is a little bit more expensive, but the sensors are a little bit better, and it works closer at, like, desktop range. So, like, if I'm just sitting in front of the desktop, the Kinect likes me to be, like, 6 to 8 feet back. This one will deal with you sitting much closer. It has great voice recognition as well. The technology is fascinating. Microsoft has released SDKs for it. There's a lot of open source stuff. There's a lot of hacker stuff. So it's really cool in like a geek gadget hacker play around. Maybe you'll figure out some fun, cool thing to do. Maybe you have a need in your house. Like I do know, for the creepy thing is that if you are going to jerk off with it, it has like a camera array in it and a sonar array. So they will 3D map the entire event will be recorded and the audio. So its cameras track you for infrared. They track you for visual. The sonars are used in the system to help 3D map the cameras. And then, of course, other audio signals and stuff like that. It's a fascinating piece of tech. It's a marvelous piece of kit, as they say in London. Or they don't, because, again, I've never been to London. I think if you have a technology interest, it is fun to play with. Commercially, it's difficult to see right now. But somebody's going to crack that nut. Somebody's going to figure out something amazing commercial with it. There's pretty damn close to Minority Report style interfaces already existing based around Kinect. We have this idea to build a game from it to play at the TechCo, where the Kinect sensor, I think, would have to be in front of the glass because of the sonar, but maybe not. Maybe it can do it just off of the other sensors, but somebody walks up in front of the sensor, and then on the window, the pane of glass, the 10-foot tall window in the front is projected Space Invaders, and you move the cannon back and forth. You know, so somebody's just walking by the Techco. You're like, holy shit, I'm in the game. I'm playing. I will have set up, I usually like to set up Happy Action Theater. You've seen this one, haven't you, Dylan?
Yeah,
I've shown it to you.
yeah.
It's a great demo connect. It's a collection of little mini interesting games. Not your typical like bowling and stuff, but just like playing with the screen and the camera and doing some cool things. The girls love it. So I'm actually kind of pissed off about the Kinect that indies aren't allowed to access it. That's something that indie games are not allowed to use. They're not allowed to make use of the Kinect, which is the exact kind of thing that indies need to get a hold of, because we do not know how to use that technology yet. So we need a lot of massive little indie studios, little independent studios, even the big studios releasing little small things to figure out, does this work? Does this work? Does this work? Is this working? People get this? No, people do that. Oh, wait a minute, that gives me an idea. Let's try this, you know? We need a lot of experimentation, so it's cool, and I expect the Xbox 720 to have it integrated tightly and better sensor arrays. The first one, you know, if you were going to get it to play with, I would say get the PC one over the Xbox one, simply because the Xbox wants a lot of room space, and it's hard to actually get that much room space. Even the big areas that I have in my house, it's like, yeah, we would like a little bit more room. It's like, holy crap, you want like 16 feet of space, you know? That's a lot of space.
You want me to stand on my sofa right now?
Yeah, I have standing on the sofa to configure it. So can you move back further? Like, I'm on top of the sofa at this point.
I'm almost at the wall.
Yeah. Microsoft did publish an API as such, but the API is only available on Windows, not to Kinect. So you can use XNA with Kinect on Windows, but not on the Xbox.
Yeah.
Right? Which is where all of there are. I'm not sure the reason it requires so much space. I think it's just they got it down, they launched it at $149. And all of the processing that this thing does is hardware. It is not software, right? So it puts no additional strain really on the box that's using it. And I think it's just a price thing. I think the quality of lenses and cameras and sonar equipment that they needed to allow it to work in smaller, closer spaces, it just pushed the price too far.
Isn't the Windows version like somewhere above $200 or something?
Yeah, I think it's
like
I think it's either $200 or $250. And it supposedly has better sensors in it and works much closer.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure, I suspect it's probably a loss leader thing, just like the Xbox itself is, because, you know.
Yeah, Perry asked how much memory can it accommodate. I don't know if he's toying with me at the moment. It's a peripheral. It's a device. It's an input device. It's not. It doesn't have memory itself. It would rely on your PC, or your PC would just read it as any other device. You know, it's just another input. It could be a mouse for all your computer cares.
Yeah.
So. I think we're good, everyone. I want to thank everyone for tuning in for my birthday rambling podcast. We'll be back on track next week, topic focused. You're going to be out next week, right, Dylan?
Yes, I'm going to be at MTAC.
MTAC, okay. It was a bigger conference, not a Peloton.
Not. Do we want to talk about that? Should we?
Did we talk about that already? Or I guess not.
No, because it was last week.
It was last week. Yeah, there was like 20 cars in the parking lot of Peloton. Yeah. That pretty much wraps it up. Then explains everything. Excellent panel. Had a good time at the Chaos Soft Games panel, and then hanging out with those guys afterwards, which is really why I went. You know, just to watch them guys, support them a little bit, but also to hang out, chat, mostly about the game development in our area and how we can help that. So, all right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast, and also thank you for tuning into the live show or watching this on YouTube. Thank you for watching this however you choose to watch it. It is up to you. Until then, we'll see you in a week.